which I just selected in order to get the recording going. Okay, so we are starting chapter 22. We're going to do the introduction and section 1 in this session. The chapter title is Salvation in the Holy Relationship. This is Miracles on High Plains. My name is Jonica, and our reader today is Julie. As is our custom, we're going to drop back one paragraph before we begin chapter 22 and see where we left off.
What is the holy instant but God's appeal to you to recognize what He has given you? Here is the great appeal to reason, the awareness of what is always there to see, the happiness that could be always yours. Here is the constant peace you could experience forever. Here is what denial has denied revealed to you. For here, the final question is already answered, and what you ask for, given. Here is the future now, for time is powerless because of your desire for what will never change. For you have asked that nothing stand between the holiness of your relationship and your awareness of its holiness.
Mm-hmm. So again, this is review, so it affirms the concept of constant happiness, constant peace, constant joy. We would say your soul is forever in that state. It does not have bad days and good days. And so this program, the Course of Miracles, is all about becoming aware of the heavenly estate in your earthly conscious mind. And that was going to require mind training. That's going to require some undoing of false beliefs about ourselves and desires that we thought were normal and natural that are going to wind up being instead seen in a different light. But nevertheless, the gift is that we will eventually come to recognize the gifts that the Creator has already given us, that it's the most wonderful gift here described as your awareness of your holy relationship with all creation. It's already begun your holy relationship with creation. We're talking about making your conscious mind aware of it. Oh, what? Where's my words? Oh, isn't that interesting? Okay.
Take pity on yourself, so long enslaved. Rejoice whom God hath joined have come together, and need no longer look on sin apart. No two can look on sin together, for they could never see it in the same place and time. Sin is a strictly individual perception, seen in the other, yet believed by each to be within himself. And each one seems to make a different error, and the one the other cannot understand. Brother, it is the same, made by the same, and forgiven for its maker in the same way. The holiness of your relationship forgives you and your brother, undoing the effects of what you both believed and saw. And with their going is the need for sin gone with them.
Mm-hmm. So the holiness of your relationship undoes the errors of the mind. Let's contrast or remember again what the chief error of the mind is. which the word is sin, but we know that in A Course in Miracles, sin is the belief in lack of love. There's just not enough love. Or more specifically, that person that I'm looking at is not lovable. I do not love them. Lack of love. And the hidden cause of that belief is that we believe ourselves to not be lovable, to not be loved, and thus project that becomes too uncomfortable to sit with that. And so we project that out onto others as not being lovable. So the healing of the mind is the correcting of the errors regarding ourself. What is our true nature? And ultimately, then we come to realize not only were we created by love, but there's a union of all creation of love, which we will refer to as the holy relationship.
Who has need for sin? Only the lonely and alone, who see their brothers different from themselves. It is this difference, seen but not real, that makes the need for sin, not real but seen, seem justified. And all this would be real if sin were so. For an unholy relationship is based on differences, where each one thinks the other has what he has not. They come together, each to complete himself and rob the other. They stay until they think that there is nothing left to steal, and then move on. And so they wander through a world of strangers, unlike themselves, living with their bodies, perhaps under a common roof that shelters neither, in the same room and yet a world apart.
So clearly, this is a description of the ego's worldview, its view of relationships. And here described as each one thinks the other person has something that I don't have. So if we cast this in terms of love, a person feels, well, I don't feel like I've got love, but maybe that other person's got some that they can offer me. And they come together each to complete himself and rob the other of the love so that we could try to get the love that we don't have. And there are so many songs, popular songs written about these dynamics. And so this is the ego's worldview is and that I can take some love from you. And so this would be a lose lose or zero sum game. I don't know if I'm expressing that right. Yeah, zero sum, where if you've got a little bit of love, maybe I can get that from you, but there's still going to be somebody's got to lose if someone else is to gain. All of this is clearly just the opposite of the Holy Spirit's view of love, but it's necessary that we recognize the nature of the error. For should these thoughts appear in your mind or judgments in your mind, you can very quickly recognize this doesn't feel peaceful. This doesn't feel loving and giving. Where does this thought come from? It must come from ego. Am I willing to surrender it to the Holy Spirit and be healed? Said another way, what do I prefer to embrace the truth or keep my own illusions? Julie?
A holy relationship starts from a different premise. Each one has looked within and seen no lack. Accepting his completion, he would extend it by joining with another, whole as himself. He sees no difference between these selves, for differences are only of the body. Therefore, he looks on nothing he would take. He denies not his own reality because it is the truth. Just under heaven does he stand, but close enough not to return to earth. For this relationship has heaven's holiness. How far from home can a relationship so like to heaven be?
Mhm. This first short sentence says a lot. A holy relationship starts from a different premise. And this is all of mind training is geared for to help you learn how to start from a different premise, not the premise of a lack of love. I'm unlovable, or I don't have love in my life, and the world is and all the descriptions, a narrative of the illusion, but to start from a different premise. And that's why mind training through the lessons require you to remember every hour so that you keep that premise uppermost in your mind. Where and what is that premise? It is always of the form of turning within first. Each has looked within and seen no lack. This could be described as turning within and recognizing you have the power of a son of God. You have the power of choice, the power of your faith, the power of your belief. You have the power of vision. To recognize within you is something magnificent. And then from there to respond to the world without. That's a different premise. So from that point of view, which is to first accept your completion, that you're lacking in nothing, we then feel abundantly blessed and extend that abundance by joining with another who we see as equal to ourselves, whole as ourselves, no difference between ourselves. And so this viewpoint is one that requires the mind to develop a new habit where it first looks within and recognizes that we are blessed. And just as a side, one of the easiest ways to acquire this is to practice gratitude all day long. If you practice gratitude, you can start out with the simplest of things like I'm alive and breathing, I have a place to sleep and a meal to eat, and people that are texting me. Well, however, whatever forms you take that gratitude practice, and when you turn within, it's congruent. Gratitude is an attitude that's congruent with an inward sense of worthiness, lovability, and completion. So I strongly recommend that.
Think what a holy relationship can teach. Here is belief in differences undone. Here is the faith in differences shifted to sameness. And here is sight of differences transformed to vision. Reason now can lead you and your brother to the logical conclusion of your union. It must extend as you extended when you and he joined. It must reach out beyond self as you reached out beyond the body to let you and your brother be joined. And now the sameness that you saw extends and finally removes all sense of differences, so that the sameness that lies beneath them all becomes apparent. Here is the golden circle where you recognize the Son of God. For what is born into a holy relationship can never end.
Mhm. So, in summary, the holy relationship teaches that we are all created by the God, the Creator, unequal as equals. That's not to say in the world of time, our bodies are equal. Clearly, they're not equal in size and shape and function. That's not to say that in time, the appearances are equal. It is to say that the light within you is the same light within everyone else, from the same source, and we are therefore the same in the light. And that recognition of sameness is not something you keep to yourself. It's not a self centered idea because it's a recognition of others. It must extend out beyond itself to your brothers. It winds up enlarging your circle of souls that you recognize as worthy of your love. Let me say that again. Through this recognition of the light in others, that circle becomes larger and larger. We recognize more and more people are worthy of the light of love and of your love and it describes it here as a golden circle where you recognize that we all collectively are the Son of God, and, which is what we were in the beginning of creation. This is just an assertion of what's always been true. Collectively, we were created as the offspring of God. We were born into a holy relationship that can never end. And so this is what a holy relationship can teach. It's why the holy relationship is central to A Course in Miracles. It's not where we begin because we have to begin with undoing fear and undoing the false identity of the ego. That's necessary to get to the point where our hearts and minds open to the possibility of believing, putting our faith in a holy relationship. So with that was the introduction to this chapter. With that, we'll move on to section 1.
Let reason take another step. If you attack whom God would heal and hate the one he loves, then you and your Creator have a different will. Yet, if you are his will, what you must then believe is that you are not yourself. You can indeed believe this, and you do. And you have faith in this and see much evidence on its behalf. And where, you wonder, does your strange uneasiness, your sense of being disconnected, and your haunting fear of lack of meaning in yourself arise? It is as though you wandered in without a plan of any kind except to wander off, for only that seems certain.
Mhm. So again, describing the ego mindset, the ego attitude. This is true throughout the course. The ego attitude is to believe that you are not your true eternal self. another way of saying that would be to believe that you were not created by God, that you are just here randomly, a haunting fear of a lack of meaning, as though you wandered into this world without a plan or a purpose of any kind, and then depart the world no different than when you came. That's the ego concept. And so we want to identify this false self image to believe that you are something which is not your true self. And I summarize that as a false self. In psychological terms, it's a false self system because it starts with the confusion about yourself and then it extends to your entire belief about your life and the world and all your relationships. Because if you're confused about yourself, you can't be clear about any other matter, about life, the world, the meaning of life, about relationships. So it does, in this confusion, become a haunting fear of lack of meaning in yourself and in life itself. This is what led to after World War II, the philosophical system called nihilism, existential nihilism became very popular. People just lost all hope. We said, look at what we did to, this is after World War II, look at what we did to ourselves. Over what? And it was, anyway, I don't, not to go into history though. So that became a widespread philosophic orientation, even though people didn't know they were adhering to a sense of meaninglessness. It was widely popularized, including in much of the literature that you may have been asked to study in high school or college.
Yet we have heard a very similar description earlier, but it was not of you. But still, this strange idea, which it does accurately describe, you think is you. Reason would tell you that the world you see through eyes that are not yours must make no sense to you. To whom would seeing such as this send back its messages? Surely not you, whose sight is wholly independent of the eyes that look upon the world. If this is not your vision, what can it show to you? The brain cannot interpret what your vision sees. This you would understand. The brain interprets to the body of which it is a part, but what it says you cannot understand. Yet you have listened to it, and long and hard you tried to understand its messages.
Mhm. So hold on to your seat. We're about to blow apart an idea that the entire world believes in. And that is, we're going to give a new meaning to the thought, the word, your eyes. So on the ordinary level of the world, we know that what your eyes are. Everybody knows what your eyes are. But we're going to introduce a new concept here, which I'll phrase the eyes of your soul. They are seeing through your soul, through the light of your soul. They are not your physical eyes that are tied to your brain. They are a type of spiritual vision that is tied to your soul. Now, obviously, this is a spiritual concept. We are not I'm not saying that there's some kind of additional pair of eyes that haven't been discovered by science. We're speaking metaphorically, eyes of the soul, spiritual vision. This is something you discern within your upper conscious mind, your heart, your soul. And so it's that the Course says you see with clarity and you understand life and love through your soul's eyes, not through the body's eyes. And many of you have already realized that the thing that your five senses tell you, or at least your eye is one of those five senses, you can't always believe what you see. The What is a magician but someone that shows you something that you see, but it's not true what you see. You're believing in an illusion. And there's many examples of this. And so the important thing here is that the Course is now going to refer to um, see through eyes that are not yours. Um, so we're going to refer to this as the soul's eyes, eyes of the soul. Clearly, spiritual vision is attained through the eyes of your soul. And if eyes doesn't work for you, we can also call this the window of your soul. We can also call this the doorway to your soul. And I'm somewhat fond of the idea of the portal to your soul, because it's kind of a neutral term. All that implies a passageway in which your soul interacts with life itself. We'll go on.
You have not realized it is impossible to understand what fails entirely to reach you. You have received no messages at all you understand. For you have listened to what can never communicate at all. Think then what happens. Denying what you are and firm in faith that you are something else, this something else that you have made to be yourself becomes your sight. Yet it must be the something else that sees, and as not you, explains its sight to you. Your vision would, of course, render this quite unnecessary. Yet if your eyes are closed, and you have called upon this thing to lead you, ask it to explain to you the world it sees. You have no reason not to listen, nor to suspect that what it tells you is not true. Reason would tell you it cannot be true because you do not understand it. God has no secrets. He does not lead you through a world of misery, waiting to tell you at the journey's end why he did this to you.
So the idea here is, yes, we have in the past trusted our human eyesight to help us interact with the world. And the question that it brings up here, well, then ask your eyesight to explain the world to you. See how far that goes. See well, how far that takes you. Not very far. It Just a superficial level of understanding of life. Even our scientists need all kinds of instruments that go beyond the human eyesight, like a microscope or a telescope or an oscilloscope. or other devices that enable them to go beyond human eyesight to perceive physical reality. And so it what they're doing here is just pointing out the error of our ways and believing what our physical eyes tell us. And the implications are that when we do that, it's impossible to understand the world. It's impossible to understand the meaning of life. It results in confusion, but spiritual reason would tell you that this was not what God had in mind, that you would be confused and not understanding. For God has no secrets. He would have you see clearly in the light and understand his plan and appreciate it and celebrate it. It's the only way you can feel part of it is if you understand, appreciate, and appreciate the plan. And so he has provided the mechanism, but it's called spiritual sight, not physical sight. And so ultimately, this leads us to the question of how do we acquire spiritual reason, this ability to see through our soul?
What could be secret from God's will? Yet you believe that you have secrets. What could your secrets be except another will that is your own, apart from His? Reason would tell you that this is no secret that need be hidden as a sin, but a mistake indeed. Let not your fear of sin protect it from correction, for the attraction of guilt is only fear. Here is the one emotion that you made, whatever it may seem to be. This is the emotion of secrecy, of private thoughts, and of the body. This is the one emotion that opposes love and always leads to sight of differences and loss of sameness. Here is the one emotion that keeps you blind, dependent on the self you think you made to lead you through the world it made for you.
Mm-hmm. This could be one of the most clear-cut statements of the error of the error of the ego's ways. One in which we have all, to some degree or another, participated in, largely unconsciously, not knowing any better because we're innocent, but fell prey to the propaganda of the ego. And that is, it involves feeling fearful and guilty. It's the one emotion that we produced. And that emotion is a sense of secrecy, which is really to keep information away from another. It's a way of separating your mind from the mind of the creator. To have a secret from God is a way to make sure he doesn't know. And you might remember in the book of Genesis, where Adam and Eve were in the garden, when they ate the apple, they were told not to. And then God came by later and they hid from him, for they were embarrassed about their nakedness, it says, but they were hiding. They were keeping a secret. Where are you? Um, and so this emotion of secrecy, this is only useful if you realize that this happens inside your own mind. This emotion of secrecy shows up in the Course of Miracles. The term they use is your private thoughts. It's your thoughts that would seem to be known only to you. And that is an illusion for your mind. We are not alone in experiencing the effects of our perceptions, of our thinking. And so in reality, there are no private thoughts, but the ego would have you believe that you can have secret thoughts that are private and known only to you. And this is called an emotion of secrecy, for it's charged with fear and guilt. There's something I want to keep hidden here. And this one emotion opposes love and leads to a sense of, I've got a secret that you don't have, so I'm different from you. This is a loss of sameness. And so we can trace our entire dilemma back to this notion of having a private thought that we would not share with the Holy Spirit. And it's very subtle. We're not saying that everyone has complete understanding regarding these psychological patterns, but we're pointing it out so that when something does occur to you, you'll recognize that you're much better off to give that thought over to the Holy Spirit and share it than you are to keep it all to yourself. This can be applied to many things, like when you're making a decision, join with the Holy Spirit in that decision. Say, Holy Spirit, I got a decision to make. I don't know what to do here. I need your help. Or when you are about to go out, you ask the Holy Spirit, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to who? So you share those thoughts rather than keeping them all on your own. Julie?
Your sight was given you along with everything that you can understand. You will perceive no difficulty in understanding what this vision tells you, for everyone sees only what he thinks he is. And what your sight would show you, you will understand because it is the truth. Only your vision can convey to you what you can see. It reaches you directly, without a need to be interpreted to you. What needs interpretation must be alien, nor will it ever be made understandable by an interpreter you cannot understand.
Yeah, so there's a deeper thread here that I don't expect everybody to be completely aware of, but I'll point it out to you. We're talking about understanding. You will understand what your spiritual eyes show you because it is the truth. This is your spiritual vision. It reaches, and here it is. Spiritual vision reaches you directly without an interpreter. It comes, it's a insight to your conscious mind that is given to you not through the ordinary mechanism of perception. It's above the level of perception. Perception is something that we all do, which is actually an interpretation. When you really don't know what you're talking about, you come up with an interpretation. You try your best to interpret what you're experiencing. That's what perception is. But spiritual vision is sometimes called in the modern era a download from a higher source. It's not being interpreted, it's being shown to you what it is. This is what understanding is you are shown what it is. Therefore, you understand it's not something you can necessarily prove to the outer world, but in your inner world, you have seen it with your soul. And so it does not need to be interpreted for you. Interpretation is a interpretation is what we've got for now, but it is inadequate for true understanding. And so spiritual vision is what we're talking about, comes directly from source. That's as far as we'll go with it for now, but we'll come back to that again. This is largely under the banner of there are 7 types of communications in the Course of Miracles that are referred to. This is one of them.
Of all the messages you have received and failed to understand, this course alone is open to your understanding and can be understood. This is your language. You do not understand it yet only because your whole communication is like a baby's.
Julie, you want to go on? I think she had an interruption. The sound the baby makes and what he hears are highly unreliable,
But
meaning,
what he,
oh, there you are. We lost you for a minute.
sorry about that.
Can you pick it up at the sound the baby makes?
The sound a baby makes and what he hears are highly unreliable, meaning different things to him at different times. Neither the sound he hears nor sights he sees are stable yet. But what he hears and does not understand will be his native tongue, through which he will communicate with those around him, and they with him. And the strange, shifting ones he sees about him will become to him his comforters, and he will recognize his home and see them there with him.
So we said in a previous paragraph that perception is really an interpretation when you don't know. Here it refers to it as baby communication, as not knowing what he hears. Highly unreliable, meaning different things at different times. So the gift of God is to raise our understanding higher through a higher type of communication. Um, and it uses, we'll call it a new language, the language of your soul. It's We're learning it through A Course of Miracles, healing, forgiveness, holy encounters, holy relationships, sameness, truth. All these are part of the language of the soul. And that's what brings clarity to you through understanding life and its purpose and your part in it. It brings meaning and richness. It's your understand. It can be understood. It's the plan of holiness, the plan of atonement. You are intended to understand it through spiritual vision. And ultimately, it will become your native, well, in truth, it is your native tongue. Your true languaging system is the language of your soul. We're speaking in English here, but there's all these other dialects in our world. That's not your, that's very clearly that's temporary form of communication. Where is all that going to be in 100 years from now? For you, long gone, and you'll be communicating not in English or this world's language, but the language of your soul. And so they're preparing us here with a type of vision of what's to come, where it says you do not understand it yet, because we're using this baby language, but you will understand it, for it is your native tongue.
So, in each holy relationship is the ability to communicate instead of separate, reborn. Yet, a holy relationship, so recently reborn itself from an unholy relationship, and yet more ancient than the old illusion it has replaced, is like a baby now in its rebirth. Still in this infant is your vision returned to you, and he will speak the language you can understand. He is not nurtured by the something else you thought was you. He was not given there, nor was received by anything except yourself. For no two brothers can unite except through Christ, whose vision sees them one. Think what it is given you, my holy brother. This child will teach you what you do not understand and make it plain, for his will be no alien tongue. He will need no interpreter to you, for it was you who taught him what he knows, because you knew it. He could not come to anyone but you, never to something else. Where Christ has entered, no one is alone, for never could he find a home in separate ones. Yet must he be reborn into his ancient home, so seeming new and yet as old as he, a tiny newcomer, dependent on the holiness of your relationship to let him live.
Mhm. So we're going to summarize this. So what it says is your awareness, your awakening to the idea of a holy relationship with all creation has been so recently reborn, that it is like a baby now in its rebirth. This is really, it could be interpreted as you are being born again from your former identity where you thought you were not yourself, being born again into the realization of your soul, of your part in God's plan for salvation, of your part in the holy relationship. We are all being born anew. And thank God, that there's this opportunity to start anew as an innocent baby in the spirit, who then has this wonderful future in front of us. I'm going to go on.
Be certain God did not entrust his Son to the unworthy. Nothing but what is part of him is worthy of being joined. Nor is it possible that anything not part of him can join. Communication must have been restored to those who join. For this they could not do through bodies. What then has joined them? Reason will tell you that they must have seen each other through a vision not of the body and communicated in a language the body does not speak. Nor could it be a fearful sight or sound that drew them gently into one. Rather, in each the other saw a perfect shelter where his self could be reborn in safety and in peace. Such did reason tell him. Such he believed, because it was the truth. Here is the first direct perception that you can make. You make it through awareness older than perception, and yet reborn in just an instant. For what is time to what was always so? Think what that instant brought. The recognition that the something else you thought was you is an illusion. And truth came instantly to show you where yourself must be.
We're gonna, Julie, we're gonna hold off on that part till the next slide. Thank you. So we are talking about being reborn into the awareness of a holy relationship. And with that comes a newfound understanding. But the understanding is not like what we knew before. It comes through spiritual reason and through spiritual vision. It involves others. It's the holy relationship with all creation. It means that in each, the other saw a perfect shelter where his self could be reborn. Or, in other words, he saw the light in another person. And the Course teaches us that our brothers are our salvation, that they bring salvation to us when we recognize the light in them. It's all intertwined. When you recognize that they have the light in them and that makes them lovable, and you recognize that that's the light that you share in your own being, they then give you this insight and clarity. And what it says here is very fascinating, that this is the first direct perception that you can make, the recognition of the light in your brother, and that's true. Nothing could be more central to making progress in the Course than this recognition, your willingness to recognize the light in another and to honor it, bless it. It's something that occurs beyond the level of verbal language. It's beyond the level of body language. It definitely entails looking within and recognizing the light within yourself, and then through spiritual reason must realize that it must be in others as well. And then through spiritual vision, your mind then goes looking for evidence of the light in others. And when you're looking for it, you're much more likely to catch a glimpse of the light in others. It can be very subtle. It can be as much as a twinkle in someone's eye, or a little upturn of a smile, or a gracious. Once just recently, there was a big circle of people. We were all sitting on the ground, and I came in a little late, so I was kind of back, not really in the circle. And this woman was there, and she recognized, and she moved over to make room for me. Without anything being said, she did it just because she recognized that that was the kind thing to do. And then we had one later on that evening, we had a wonderful. So it has many different forms of expression whereby we recognize the lovability, the worthiness, the equality of another.
And truth came instantly to show you where yourself must be. It is denial of illusions that calls on truth. For to deny illusions is to recognize that fear is meaningless. Into the holy home, where fear is powerless, love enters, thankfully, grateful that it is one with you who join to let it enter. Christ comes to what is like himself, the same, not different, for he is always drawn unto himself. What is as like him as a holy relationship? And what draws you and your brother together draws him to you. Here are his sweetness and his gentle innocence protected from attack. And here can he return in confidence, for faith in another is always faith in him. You are indeed correct in looking on your brother as his chosen home. For here you will with him and with his Father. This is your Father's will for you, and yours with his. And who is drawn to Christ is drawn to God as surely as both are drawn to every holy relationship, the home prepared for them as earth is turned to heaven.
So beautiful, so poetic. Just to underscore, the Course is now saying that we have a home that is not in the context of our earthly meaning of home, which is your address. It might appear on your driver's license. You see the mail there, you keep your stuff there. That's the way the word home is used. But in the level that the Course finds meaningful, your home is found in your holy relationships. Your home is found as a member of creation, of the family of creation, where all light beings are joined together in recognition of our sameness and our wholeness, and that together we complete God's plan for creation. We become part of the holy self, the supreme self. Um, and this is your eternal home in contrast to any form of temporal home in time. This is your eternal home. And it is a truth that your eternal home goes with you anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe, wherever you go. Your home is there with you. It is not limited by space, nor is it limited by time, for it is timeless and spaceless. It's a part of your holy relation forever, is where you find yourself, where you are safe, where you are saved from the illusions of yourself, where you can find your peace and all the other gifts of God that are available are given to us and realized, or recognized and appreciated in our holy home. So that is as far as we're going to read today. That's the beginning of chapter 22, and we'll continue on. You can see with that as a beginning that there's much more fascinating messages to come. We'll continue on with that when we get together next time. So I want to thank you all for your presence. Thank you, Julie, for your reading, and look forward to connecting again real soon. Until then, namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Julie.
Namaste.
Thank
You're
you, Jonica.
welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.
Thanks, Jonica.
Peace and love.
Jonica.